Tesla disappoints on earnings, the White House gets serious about cybersecurity, and what happens to Facebook after you die? All that and more today on Crunch Week. Hey there, I'm Colleen.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Kyle.
Today, Friday,
Thank God.
all of DC, it seems, is in Silicon Valley to get serious about cybersecurity. President Obama is here making some big statements.
Well, get serious is maybe a bit of an overstatement. To discuss on our back porch is probably more appropriate. I feel like the president flew in his entire staff, and Silicon Valley, and actually the whole tech industry kind of came to town at Stanford to talk about this, but not much so far has been said that's new. The president just got off stage like 20 minutes ago, and he made a very decent speech. So here's the history of Silicon Valley, here's why it matters, and cybersecurity and so forth. But he didn't really announce that much. He signed one executive order that's not going to do that much, and Congress is still doing nothing. So it's a good confab. It's a good kind of moment to look at the issue inside the industry. But like, will it change that much? The answer, not really.
Yeah.
So I mean, like a big issue having to do with cybersecurity and Silicon Valley in particular is that other countries and people who live in those countries and big corporations in those countries don't trust Silicon Valley companies to be able to keep their data away from the NSA. And he couldn't address that reason during like the speech. It was 25 minutes that was like, hey guys, I'm just here in Stanford to chat with you. Like you can't say like, oh, and by the way, NSA is not going to invade your shit anymore.
Right, it's like, Project Muscular. Sorry that we were tapping the data cables between Google's data centers in Europe. Sorry about that. We're going to lay off that. No, he's like, privacy matters for the average consumer. We buy stuff online these days, and therefore we need to have better. It's like, what are you saying?
Yeah, I was disappointed by the entire tone of the entire thing. It seemed very, high level as opposed to low level, like actually getting into the issues. And it seemed very general, a little bit too casual for my liking. I think this is a really serious thing. We're in incredibly serious times right now. I'm personally concerned that the government really has the knowledge and the funds to hire the elite engineers that the military and the government needs to keep us all safe in this world of threats. I thought that it was way too casual, too jokey for the kind of situation that we're in. And when you have an entire summit about this topic, I think that it could have used a lot more gravitas.
I agree with that entirely, and I'll just say that, I don't think this at all moved the ball forward in helping Congress shape the issue in a way that can actually lead to legislation.
I think it was really telling also the people who weren't there. There were a lot of CEOs there from, MasterCard and Wells Fargo, I think, and PG&E, and so there were some huge corporate, executives there. Tim Cook, of course, from Apple, but a lot of people also weren't there. There was no Marissa Mayer, no one from Google on stage. A lot of these big companies didn't have any representatives, and that seemed a little bit telling.
They sent their CSOs, right? I mean, like, just because Satya didn't saunter on stage and be like, Obama, yeah, doesn't mean Microsoft doesn't take the issue seriously.
At the same time, though, like these companies, Obama can say, I want to work with Silicon Valley. The government wants to work with Silicon Valley as much as we can. Yeah. But what that really means is we want to have a golden key that gives us a backdoor to your data. Not like, oh yeah, we'll like make the government system smarter and also be aware of keeping citizens' data private.
Right.
Like that's what people want to hear.
And that's what I think. That's why they weren't there.
Yeah.
I don't think that it shows that Microsoft and Google, of course, aren't taking this stuff seriously. Of course, they're taking it probably more seriously than anybody.
It was them making a statement.
Yeah.
You really think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, to not show up when your office is 20 minutes away and you don't show up when the President of the United States is at this event, I think that says something. I mean, maybe they weren't quite sure what he was going to announce.
Well, apparently nothing. They could have shown up and they wore a bunny suit and it wouldn't have mattered. But I mean, snub or not, I think that Congress and tech are still miles apart in what they should look like. I mean, I think we have the same divide between like tech companies and then ISPs, as we have in net neutrality, that are going to be on different sides of what's appropriate here. Because ISPs are like, we don't give a shit. Tech companies are like, we give lots of shits. And so we're going to have to find a bill to somehow manage to balance that out with a split Congress and executive branch. So I don't see much happening.
All right.
Not to be negative, but like, I mean, it's fucking Washington, right? I mean, what's actually going to happen here? Probably nothing.
All right, next up, Tesla had their earnings report this week, and their stock took a dip. Seems some people were disappointed.
They had revenues of about $1 billion, whether you're looking at non-GAAP or GAAP, it was either a little over, a little under, and then they had, depending on how you're looking at it, losses per share of 13 cents to like, what was it, 89 cents, depending on how you're looking at it. So pretty wide difference there, but basically negative cash flow of like negative $455 million in a quarter, like something awful.
And that was unexpectedly bad.
Yeah, and that was partially had to do with the fact that they put a lot of money into making like 11,000 plus cars in a quarter, but were only able to get 9,800 of them to customers due to what Elon Musk says were weather, which Alex likes to make fun of for any time anyone brings up weather.
So
and
true.
then also like people being on vacations, because Tesla's thing is like we show up at your house and like we give you like the VIP treatment, we give you a test ride, check it out. Where would you like us to install the charger
That
kit?
makes
Like
it
that
sound
kind
so
of thing.
luxurious. I
Yeah.
think you should be a Tesla delivery guy. That
Tesla
was nice.
concierge.
That was good.
It's a side job now.
So there was that. There was the downside of like they made a bunch of cars but didn't actually get them in consumers' hands. They said they'll do it like now, basically. But there was also a lot of positive notes in the forward-looking. Capital expenditures and R&D costs are going way up, which sounds like it would be bad, except for it means there are 2,000 charging stations like down the coasts right now. They want to make that 1,000, add 1,000 this year. So there will be
50% more in 1 year.
Yes.
Okay.
They want to. The Gigafactory is going to come online, the massive battery factory that's going to have the entire world's battery production capability once over again in one single building.
Okay.
They are increasing. They're rolling out the Model X is going to happen this year and the Model S. So total car production is going to go up 70%
So
this
basically,
year.
they're spending a shitload of cash on things they want, need, and that build their future.
Right. So things that make it so that like matching like demand won't be an issue in the future.
Does
Basically,
Tesla
they want to
have
have
any-
like excessive
Do
capacity.
they have any short-term cash problems, or do they have enough cash to float this?
I mean, analysts like Jim Cramer said that they can't possibly sustain this, but honestly, Tesla, I think, is in a position where they have the momentum where if they did have cash flow problems, they could just be like, well, we're going to have a massive debt financing round. I don't think that's a problem.
I was concerned about China. I think that there was sources talking to Reuters, I think. This wasn't actually in their earnings report, but a couple of places reported that Tesla is not taking off in China at all in the way that people would like to see. I think that they only sold 120 cars in China last month in the whole country. So I had heard that Elon Musk is really cleaning out his current China leadership and hoping to get some new people in there.
I think in the long run, that's not that big of a deal. They're still very much so in the early phases of the rollout. I mean, their entire focus, and they've said this from the very beginning, is move from top of the market down. And I think that like with the Model X and then the Model E, that'll be like $30,000. That's when the really like scale is going to kick in. I think that they can. Those numbers aren't reflective of how they're
Yeah,
going to do
but
in
the
the long
luxury
run.
market in China is so large, you would think that they could sell more than 120 cars across
That's
the entire country.
a totally fair point.
I mean, there's a lot of people with a lot of money in China. We've all been. So like, I feel like that's a really weak number.
And next, Facebook launched something this week, a new way that people manage their accounts after they die. Essentially, the launch here is that it's a new sort of feature to your Facebook profile where you can designate essentially a beneficiary, someone to take care of your profile after you kick the bucket.
Question.
Yes.
When we die, in about 15 years, say, do you think
Hard
anyone
living.
will still give a shit about Facebook? Like, do we need...
Well, it's not about us. It's about people who are dying now and dying tomorrow. And I mean,
Oh,
this-
well, way to make me seem
what about
really
those
selfish and self-centered.
people
Great,
other
fantastic.
than those of us at the big white table? There,
Yeah,
there are
no.
people
Now I
beyond
literally
us.
feel terrible. I'm a bad... Kyle, say something, anything.
Okay,
just go.
okay.
Jeez.
So this is something that Facebook has done a pretty good job about dealing with these kinds of things manually for a long time. You'd see things like those end of the year summary videos where they would show like, here's like the big moments in your life thus far, or like big moments with your strongest connections, and it'd be really cute videos, but like it was only accessible by you if you wanted to then share it. And there was people who were like, oh, my son died, can I see his video? And they would reach out directly to Facebook, and Facebook would like, yeah, here you go. Like we want to make sure that you can like have those memories. And like, basically, this is just another step so that like they don't have to do that at scale for every single person where,
Right.
oh, you had a loved one who passed away.
Right.
Making sure that one, you have access to cute things like that, but two, making sure that like when people like leave messages on your wall, that like if some of them are maybe inappropriate or like a little bit like too personal to like stay there forever on someone's page, to be able to like manage that.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have personally had anybody who's died close to you
I have.
and had to take care of their Facebook page. But anyway, I've lost both my parents in the past 5 years, to make it heavy. But one of the big things, one of the biggest unexpected things that you have to deal with is their Facebook profile. And one of the weirdest things after my dad unexpectedly passed is that we had some people that didn't know that were sharing like Farmville things on his page and these different things, and we had to reach out directly to them because there's this period of time in between the time that Facebook can memorialize the page and give you control. You have to send them an obituary to show that you're someone who's part of the family that can take care of it. It's a very manual process, and that can be a lot of unnecessary heartache, I think, for someone who's going through something that's a little bit traumatic. So I think that this is great that Facebook launched it. I think Facebook's been around for 10 years. I can't believe it's taken them this much time time. I think it's just telling. It kind of shows that they've had, it's sort of a young team that probably hasn't had to deal with a lot of these types of things.
Hence my stupid comment, which now sounds even dumber in the context of what you just said, and I'm literally going to go out and like flagellate myself with a whip because I feel terrible now.
Oh, no, it's fine. I mean, and you're right. Even if, in the scheme of things, Facebook really doesn't matter that much. And you'd be surprised at how when someone passes away, the first thing you're not thinking about is, of course, their Facebook
social media
profile.
Yeah.
Right, and
like
so
David
same
Carr's
thing
Twitter
for
last
us.
night.
Right, well, yeah, that was an interesting thing
He
as well.
tweeted 5 hours before he died.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah, that's how it's going to be probably for all of us. We might think that in 15 years we won't be on Facebook or we won't care about Facebook,
My
but we'll
last
be on
tweet will
something.
be never tweet.
No. That's how they'll know we're dead, because the tweets will stop. They're like, oh, they must have kicked the bucket, because they can't not.
Thank you for watching. That's all the time we have, and tune in next week.